A lot of people and organizations care about Black and brown kids and their future. But what are we missing? Welcome to the Road to Ambition podcast. In every episode, we're exploring a new angle on what our teens need to thrive in college, career, and in life. We're on a mission to turn every teen's smartphone into a device that guides them towards personal transformation and truly thriving. Join our founder, Remy Shabomahin, along with others, as we delve into the journey of ambition and share insights on making a meaningful impact on Black and brown teens. Thanks for joining us.
Hey Remy, it's we're zooming through this episode, this series of episodes, The Road to Ambition, and today what we want to get into, it's probably for me the most exciting part because I'm anxious and I'm in a positive way to see what it is that you guys are up to, what you're creating, and so we're going to talk about the program itself, and specifically we're going to talk about phones, the mobile devices. And it's a different world. Obviously, when I started in youth development work, there was no such thing. If someone had a phone, it was like a novelty, and they had no one else to call, and there wasn't even texting. Times have changed. We know that as parents. We know everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And what we want to explore with you is what it is you're doing and what you're not doing. And I we're always talking about AI these days. Chatbots here, chatbots there. I just have this kind of imagination of kids having this AI robot alongside them, giving them life skill tips as they go. That's not what you're doing, I don't think. So let's talk about what you're doing and help us understand it.
I think in the world of technology, it is important to kind of recognize the trend of innovation in the tech world is constantly pushing the bounds of like, what is the role of tech? What should be the role of tech in our life?
Yeah.
What roles should technology infiltrate and take over, right? And what roles should they not? And I think that technologists have been pushing the boundaries on that for as long as we can remember.
Yeah.
But I think there are certain roles and certain interactions that are uniquely human, and there's not going to be an AI parent, right?
Yeah.
I think there's going to constantly be parents.
That'd be cool though.
That would be kind of interesting.
The Jetsons.
Exactly, the Jetsons. But and so I think similar roles where there's nurturing and there's real relationship and there's real community, we believe that those are best done in real life. So this is not a replacement. Like what we're building is not a replacement for mentorship or for community. In fact, I think that when we over leverage technology to take the place or take the role of mentorship or community, that's when we see some really dangerous things happening, especially for kids. Like technology should not be where your community is, should not be where your friendships are. It should be in real life. Yeah. And so I think those are critical. And I'm a youth developer at heart. In fact, what I like most is being in community with people, and in community with kids. But again, we talked about this last week, but the problem is they're not participating, right? Like if they were, and the only problem was we just don't have enough youth developers, like I would be solving for that problem. But that's not the problem we're solving for. The fact is that teens aren't engaging in those really, really valuable spaces at the rate that they once were. And but they are engaging on their phones. And so, again, it's not mentorship. That's best done in real life. It's not relationship building. That's best done in real life. But what we kind of recognize is there's a space for technology. And the way that teens engage with technology is really interesting that I just want to talk about for a quick second.
Yeah.
For most of a teen's life, like let's say, they're in their homes with parents who likely have guided their life, right? Have choreographed their life up until that point. And for a parent, there isn't much difference between 7th grade and 9th grade. They don't, it's hard to kind of make the switch. Oh man, my kid is becoming their own adult. They should start making their own decisions. Like, no, they're still in that. This is my baby. Okay, so that's home. Then they go to school, and there's very little difference in the school day and in terms of the level of autonomy between a 7th grader and a
Mhm.
10th grader. But there's a huge difference psychologically
Yeah.
and
Great
in
point.
their growth and development.
Yeah.
They're looking for autonomy and agency. They are becoming
Yeah.
adults, searching for that, but they're not getting it there. And very rarely do they even get that in the after school space or in
Mhm.
sports. Like they're still
Mhm.
told what to do, which is why they love the feeling of technology so much,
Mm.
because this is what I'm doing. I'm choosing to do this.
Yep. Interesting.
I'm going to watch what I want to watch, what entertains me. And no
Yeah.
one's going to tell me anything about it, which is why they're so excited to then leave the house and go to college and have all this freedom, right? And so
Yeah.
I think that like recognizing that in their day-to-day life, teens don't get that feeling of autonomy that
Mm.
much. And the current systems don't support that. But yet technology does offer that. We wanted to build an app that really felt like the teens were choosing to engage in it, and it was their engagement, but there was a youth developer behind it saying,
Yeah.
okay, let's play to that,
Mhm.
and let's make sure that we're putting some things in there that are really beneficial. And so that being said, youth development, I think, usually denotes a youth developer,
Yeah.
right? And so it usually means that there is an adult doing the youth development. What we're trying to do is say, no, youth, like you're about to be an adult. You're about to be thrust into the real world
Yeah.
where there are no youth developers for 25-year-olds. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're on your own now. Um, uh, we want you to be in the habit of developing yourself.
Yeah.
And so what we try to create in the Ambition app is, you can think of it like personal development for youth, right? Where a youth developer is creating this personal development app and allowing the teens to take their own ambitions
Hmm.
into their own hands, literally, and devise a really clear vision for themselves, figure out the actionable steps, and start to think, who do I need to become? Where do I
Yeah.
need to grow? What do I need to do to make that happen? Because again, in a few years, that's going to be what they do.
It starts. I'm going to pull that thread you talked about. The desire, the psychological need for autonomy. There's an anxiety that
Yeah.
starts to grow that I've seen throughout, especially high school, the older they get, of the decisions that they need to make about their lives. And
Right.
it's interesting to really reflect on what a mobile phone does for a kid or for all of us. I don't know the percentage, but most often I'm going to my phone for disengagement. I'm going to disengage from my life. I'm going to like entertain me, give me some dopamine hits, like help me numb out,
Yeah.
help me avoid some of the stuff I'm trying to do. And that has it has some restful effects, but there's also a lot of illusions of rest. But what you're talking about is, I think, really very interesting, because I don't know yet, and this is what we've been trying to do for U School. I don't know yet in a current system of education where kids get to have the thoughtful, relevant conversations about these decisions that are impending in their lives. It certainly doesn't happen in PE. It doesn't happen in social studies. It's probably not happening very effectively at home with parents, because they're on their own journey of anxiety about their kids' lives. So I just think it's really interesting that you're giving them a chance through this app to explore some of those bigger questions, leveraging a healthy version of anxiety, because they need to take responsibility for their lives. So I'm just curious what you think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you're leading directly into kind of the first element that we've built the app on, that we think we can do through tech, which is to curate this space where they're having conversations
Mm-hmm.
with themselves, but like a thoughtful moment of learning, of reflection, of planning
Yeah.
around things that are hyper relevant but weirdly aren't talked about.
Yeah.
Like, and I saw this, as a youth developer operating in the school system around a bunch of educators who have a very specific, like, they're held to a very specific standard,
Yeah.
right? Like a science teacher, your job isn't to engage with them around anything but science,
Right.
right? Like that's your actual job. Now you
Yep.
can try to pull in some other things, but again, as a youth developer, I'm really thinking about that specific youth. What do they need to develop to show
Hmm.
up differently to their space, right? And so I was in the schools and I would have kids come down to the office and you dig a little bit and realize that what's really going on is they don't know how to build a romantic relationship.
Huh.
And they built a really unhealthy, toxic relationship,
Yeah.
as you would if your
Yeah.
hormones are raging
Right.
and you have no example, let's say, of really healthy building. You've got
Yeah.
no instruction, and you're thrust into this passion-filled, high school relationship.
Hmm.
You might not do it well. And then they're dealing with that throughout the day, and no wonder they can't engage in the work.
Yeah.
Or um, they're feeling such anxiety as juniors and seniors
Yeah.
about their next stage.
Yep.
Obviously, almost, right? Like,
Totally. Yep.
of course, who wouldn't? They've been coddled their entire
Yeah.
career, coddled maybe, guided their whole career, and they're about to be thrust into a world where they're unguided on their own. That's scary.
Hmm.
But are you taught about how to deal with fear? Are you taught about how to manage your mental health, your anxiety?
Yeah.
Or maybe I see kids showing up to school with a big bottle of soda, Sprite, and a huge bag of hot Cheetos
Yeah.
for their breakfast.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. And then we wonder why by
Champion.
2 o'clock, they're not really engaged anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
well, where are they learning about healthy eating and healthy habits,
Yeah.
or they're staying up? We're seeing this on our first version of our app. They're staying up. They were finishing 50% of the teens were finishing their courses after midnight.
Jeez.
Well, you have school the next morning.
Yeah.
And you're taking the bus. Like that's not enough sleep to
Mm-mm.
do school well. And so there's all of these elements going on in their personal lives that are affecting how they show up.
Yeah.
And we feel like, and then I've spent my 20s reading all of these books,
Hmm.
on things that I really wish I would have known. And so
Yeah.
the
Totally.
first element that we think we can really address are like the real skills it takes to live a thriving life, which is what every educator, every parent wants for a kid. I just
Right.
want you to do really well.
Yeah.
I want you to have a great relationship. I want you to have amazing health. I want you to have a career that you love. I want you to have great mental health and view yourself well. I want you to have fun. I want
Yeah.
you to be a great parent. All of these things, but then we don't spend much time developing that in them, and then wonder why they don't. And
Yeah.
so the skills not taught in school, but that are critical to living a thriving life, is what we feel like we can actually do through an app, in these kind of bite-sized, like what we've designed is this bite-sized 15 minutes per day of personal development around the areas of life that are critical to you living a thriving life, but that might not be addressed in school. And so that's money, that's communication, that's time and task management.
Yeah.
And the list really goes on. You can just ask yourself, what are the skills
Right.
that are most important for my success right now in the job or out?
Yep.
And was I taught about those explicitly in
Right.
school? Probably not.
Probably not. That's such a great
Probably.
point. I mean, I've seen that even as a dad. I oftentimes realize when it's a little bit too late that I forgot to teach you this, like this skill.
Right.
For instance, my
Yeah.
son bought a car, and old used car, and it broke down. And he's calling me like, "What do I do?" And I was like, "Huh, I've not taught you how to get a tow track, or I've never taught
That's
you how
right.
to check the oil." Like those are the kinds of things that are um, maybe on some level like so obvious that we forget to teach them, that they need to be taught. And to your point, you were someone in your 20s who just voraciously read to try to kind of close the gap from the stuff you didn't learn. Not everyone
Yeah.
has that capacity, that kind of like orientation to figure that out on their own. And without those skills, we're seeing real deficits in people's lives. So to be able to apply those skills in a way that can be brought right to them, I think is really fascinating.
Yep. We have a mentor of ours who just recently attended a conference with Microsoft,
Hmm.
and they were talking about, what roles and jobs AI and robotics will be able to take over,
Mm-hmm.
and where that leaves the human in the workforce, right?
Yeah.
And so the more and more technical, the more and more likely it is that that AI could replace that. And so that leaves uniquely human skills as the most in-demand skills for the future workforce. So even if we're not just talking about the soft, fluffy, are you enjoying life and great relationships? Some people might view that as fluffy, but hardcore, the career, the economy depends on certain skills. And they said, what are the top 3? Top of the list was empathy. Ask 100 teens what empathy is.
Yeah.
Much less what kind of, maybe been termed empathic intelligence or like emotional intelligence or these things that are like, no, it actually is a skill of how to communicate, of how to listen, of how to connect, of how to influence, of how to lead people. That is the uniquely human skills that again aren't taught, and we place an emphasis on other ones. And so the goal really for our teens, and what my vision is around the skills piece, is that I want teens in the habit of daily personal investment or daily personal development. You can learn anything.
Yeah.
You must be able to learn quickly. You must be able to recognize when you are lacking a certain skill that your current environment requires of you.
Yeah.
And I need you to have the conviction that, I can go, like, this is how I believe now. Oh man, I don't know how to do that. I wonder what the best book is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go get that book on Amazon.
Right.
And then I read it a little bit.
You're so old.
And then I read exactly.
You go for the book and the kid is looking on the phone at the app.
The kid is looking on the phone. But I have a couple kids, a couple kids I work with, and they are barbers, and they learned how to cut on YouTube. And then he pulled out a guitar. He's playing. I said, "Where'd you learn?" He learned on YouTube. Yeah. But that is powerful. The fact that you learned something, you took it in little bites over the course of time. And so that's what we're trying to do. I think all of the teens have the ability to learn it. They just don't necessarily know what is most important for them to learn.
Yeah.
And I think as adults, it's incumbent on us to tell them, to break it down, to make it accessible to them. And that's what we're trying to do through the app. And so that kind of leads, a lot of people ask when I share about the app, and that really is the crux of the daily engagement with the app, is around this personal development, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, that'd be great. Well, how do you get teens to do that? Like, how do you get teens to do that? And that is a phenomenal question. Here's what we realized. We looked at some research, kind of combined with common sense. Our target is, we're creating for low-income teens, or teens from low-income communities at the very least. What's top of mind for them is money. Combine that with the fact that the strongest tool to encourage participation in teens is financial incentive.
Yeah.
And you have a clear answer. How do we tie the work that they're doing to financial incentive? Similar to the fact that that's what we do, right? Very few of us work for free. We work and we do things we love, and that are well, hopefully we do things that we love. But we work for money and we get paid. And teens, and what I start to think about and reflect on, I was at the Boys and Girls Club. I realized that my most popular program was my teen staff program. I could teach teens anything when you're giving them a job. And that's where I put my most powerful youth development programs. That's financial literacy. Teens weren't going to show up to that, but they would if it was part of their professional development. And so once I think, again, it speaks to this autonomy, this agency in them that is on fire, that they want their own. They want to get their own money. I spend this money on what I want to spend it on because I earned it. And so we used to talk about our biggest competitor was not other youth development organizations. It was the coffee shop or the ice cream shop, because teens wanted a job.
Yeah, there's a really interesting interplay there I'm sure if you're listening, you're thinking extrinsic motivation, intrinsic motivation. Like,
Yeah, that's right.
we want
That's right.
kids to want to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
But the reality that you're presenting is there's a bit of a survival barrier there. Money equals survival. So
Yeah.
on Maslow's hierarchy, if you're familiar with that, like, paying them, getting them money is actually satisfying some of these lower level needs so that they can
Yep.
explore the more self-actualization stuff at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, we call these communities, and there's a lot of debate around what words to use, but let's say under-resourced.
Yeah.
All right.
That
If
works.
they're under-resourced, and that's how we're labeling them,
Yeah.
then how are we giving these kids more resources?
Yeah.
If they're low income, then how about we create some income generating opportunities for them?
Right.
And that can be a powerful youth development strategy to help teens understand, wow, there's a connection between work and the reward that will sustain me.
Yeah.
Because in school, what's the reward? A grade.
Right.
Well, that's only a reward if that grade means anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you like really know that grade will get you that college, well, that assumes you want to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And so in many communities and with many kids, if college isn't a really strong motivator, then grades are not a great motivator, in which case the purpose of school is to get grades. Well, then school has no purpose. But we want them to recognize, no, like, what you produce, the work you put in actually translates to your livelihood.
Yeah.
Right. And so we do a little bit of that. Now, we're not solving, homelessness or any of the wealth gap with what we're doing. All right. Per 15 minutes that a teen invests, they get $5 in their account. So, they can get $35 a week. That's not changing the game. Yeah. But that little bit of work, reward.
$20 an hour.
Work. Exactly. It's not bad,
More
right?
minimum wage.
Work, reward.
Better than the coffee shop.
It is really powerful and puts a little money in their pocket for them to invest in the things they want to do. We ask a lot of our teens in the first iteration what they were buying, and it was just incredible to see. Man, I'm trying to learn how to do hair, so this will help me get a wig for my, or I'm trying to become a barber, so this helped me get my first set of clippers, or I just want to get my nephew a birthday present. And it's like, wow, like, these are the things we take for granted because we have the resources.
Yeah.
But when you don't, these very basic things that just connect you to your world cost money that they don't have. And if we can play a role in that, that would be amazing. And so that second piece, right? First element of the app is skills. Yeah. Second element is resources. We actually envisioned an app a lot of the innovation we're doing right now as of February 2024, when you're listening to or when this was recorded, is around how can we become a platform that actually puts more money in the hands of low-income teens. Right. And so right now we have the learn and earn model, but there are some other models that we're exploring. I'm not going to talk about now, but we're really excited about kind of innovating around how can this be a place where teens can actually earn, like work and earn, and we can develop them in the process.
Before you mention that, you've already talked about that as you ran the Boys and Girls Club. That
exactly.
model of paying you for your personal development growth has existed in many ways, in many forms. I know we work at U School, we work with YMCA in San Diego, and the executive director said the exact same thing. He's like, our biggest youth development program is our employment. We hire camp staff in the summer, lifeguards, like that's how we develop staff. We also pay them. And, but you also tested this within the Ambition app, right?
Yes. And that's where we saw, that this model, we delivered over like 20,000 lessons, over 1,500 kids, and saw an 82% course completion rate, and a 96% course-to-course retention rate. Now, there's a lot of factors, and there's a lot of things we did in the design, but it's hard for me to believe that we would achieve those without a reward. It's just hard for me to believe that.
Yeah.
And we didn't test that, but it's hard for me to believe that. And so it turns out that if you speak in teens' native digital language, if you create culturally relevant material that is relevant to their life, that is easy to accomplish and incentivized, there's a high likelihood that teens will engage. And so with that premise, that became like, okay, let's innovate around that learning to drive these different systems forward, to make sure that we can actually achieve engagement first before we think about impact. I think a lot of youth developers like want to develop this really impactful program, and then why aren't the kids coming? It's impactful. Well, yeah, to you know that, but they don't know that, right? And so that's what parents are doing. That's what that's what colleges are doing. Hey, come, we got free pizza, and then come learn about this thing. So it's not really that unique or novel of an idea, but it works. Yeah,
love it.
There are two other elements of the app and really of a tech product that we think we can really do. One of the things that a youth developer is doing is making sure that the team that they're engaged with, I should say a really good youth developer is doing this. And I say that because one of the temptations as a youth developer is to draw a team to you, right?
Yeah.
You make it about, come to me. I'm your mentor. I'm your mentor. Right. But then they graduate and they're no longer in the age of your program. Yeah. And then they're like, hey, Remy, what's up? And I'm like, no, I got other kids.
All right, dude. Yeah.
Sorry. No, we actually need to help you. A good youth developer recognizes that and says, I'm going to help train you on how to find the opportunities you need.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're keeping their eyes out for things. And then they're saying, oh, hey, Johnny, like you should check this out, and you're driving them almost out in a sense. Right. A good parent is doing that, too. Like drive them out, get them comfortable engaging on their own. And so opportunity boards are a classic thing in a clubhouse or at a school. But let's be honest, how often are teens looking at that?
Yeah.
How often is there an opportunity that is customized for who they are? Right. And is it front and center when they walk up? Yeah. Right. And so we think we have a unique opportunity. And there are plenty of organizations already doing this in a tech format to digitize this concept of an opportunity board where we can share based on who you are, what you like, where you live, what age you are, right? Different opportunities that we have kind of curated, and through AI and through tech are able to do that in a way that most people aren't. And so I think that's an area where we can actually do it slightly better than what can be done in person. Yeah. And that's exciting. So an opportunity board inside of their pocket is the third element of what will be built. Like that one is not being released right now as of February 20th, but that's the full version of the app will be opportunities for jobs, opportunities for programs, tutors, scholarships, colleges, etc.
An analog comparison is, I remember we worked with a school years ago that was trying to help freshmen get involved with clubs and organizations. And they saw that as like a key leading indicator of the kids that are involved do well academically. And then as a result, then they come to school on time, etc. And so I just asked, what are you doing then to, connect those dots? And they said, well, we've got a list of those clubs and organizations for them. Yeah. I'm like, okay. And then like, oh, but we also do a club fair one day, for 20 minutes during lunch. All the tables are out there. I'm like, okay, there's like 2,600 kids now walking through there. Yeah. What else can we do? And what we ended up doing was going into the classrooms with the club representatives and doing like little commercials. That's right. They were like, well, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I'm like, yeah. But even cooler would be getting to know the kid and then saying, hey, like, I think you ought to consider this one, where it's actually a personal recruiting. What you're talking about is doing that in a digital way.
Yeah. And that has, adds the way social media has completely revolutionized the way that companies reach their target market is incredible.
Yeah.
And so to take that same relatively basic technology. It's not like it's like some crazy algorithm, but to take that same thing and infuse it in a way that presents customized opportunities to teens, I think is really incredible. And it's a win-win for the organizations to post their things and make sure that they are posting it in a way that reaches the teens that they are designed to reach. I think that we can play a really critical role in that ecosystem as well.
By the way, I didn't know. That's the first time you've shared that with me. That's exciting. That's really cool.
Yeah. So that's an exciting one. There are some elements that need to be. There's some like internal capacity we need to do that, and so that's why we're not launching it, with this V2 of the app. But that'll come, and when that comes, I think that'll
hurry up.
Yeah, exactly. That's the plan. And then lastly, the last element is something really exciting to me. Like, and I hope this comes through to everybody. That I'm going to say it again. I think I said it 50,000 times, but I'm a youth developer.
Yeah,
I'm not some app designer who just loves building apps.
Right.
We don't just love tech. Like, we love young people.
Yeah.
And we have expressed that love mostly in person. So I actually believe in the power of adults, positive adults in a youth's life.
Yeah.
That's critical. The more adults you have, the better.
Yep.
The research shows, right?
Yep.
And so I'm not in opposition to that reality. In fact, we want to build a system that actually pulls these adults who care about these teens into this process of youth development through this app. So what I would see with teens often, and not every teen, but I've heard it a couple of times, where they'll be like, "Man, I feel like nobody cares about me." And I'm like, "Well, you're talking to me. I care about you. Let me look around here and let me tell you about 10 other people here who care about you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about 10 folks up the street at Boys and Girls Club who care about you. Let me tell you about you actually have a lot of people who care about you."
Right.
But cultivating and engaging with people who care about you is a skill that isn't taught, right? And so the fourth thing that we think we can kind of build around is this concept of support, right? We've all heard of a social network, our peers, or our a professional network, our colleagues or people in other industries who we can work with. What we're trying to bring to bear is a support network. Who are the people in your life as a teen who care about you?
Yeah.
Is it your coach? Add them to your support network. Is it your teacher? Add them to your support network. That tutor who tutors you for 6 weeks, and then unfortunately had to, moved, but still cares about you. Add them to your support network. And so we call this the village, because as my dad would say, it takes a village to raise a child. We really believe that. I think that's something that most people would agree with. It takes a village. And so what we're trying to put at the center of that is, hey, teen, find the people in your life who care about you and add them. Send them a text message that says, hey, would you join my village?
Yeah.
And then what we'll do is encourage the teen to share updates. You have to keep your people updated about what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
What we encourage teens to do is create their full ambition profile so that everybody in your life knows exactly what you want, what you're in pursuit of. Oh, I didn't even know you wanted to be. What? Oh, I'm your basketball coach. I had no idea you wanted to be a doctor.
Right.
My husband is a doctor.
Yeah.
I can connect. I would have never made that connection. Right. Okay. Second, encourage the young person to ask for things. Right? Hey, I'm thinking about this. Ask your support network.
Yeah.
They will likely have thoughts.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, right? We know that because being a mentee is a skill, right?
Yeah.
You have to ask. You have to engage them. They want to help. It's like having a board or an advisory board. They want to help, but you need to help them. They're not sitting around thinking about you. They're thinking about their life, but they're willing to help if you reach out to them. So we encourage that on the app. And on the flip side, we encourage the supporter to show their support. We teach them and train them.
There you go.
Make sure you comment on this. It means a lot. If they post something, make sure you comment, even if it's just a good job, even if it's just, that's awesome. Right.
What you're talking about is so interesting. I think the script, both sides of that, there's an element of, shouldn't you all just know how to do this? Shouldn't adults know how to support a teenager's life? Well, actually, think about it. Teenagers are kind of tricky, complex, and moody. Shouldn't a 16, 17-year-old just know how to ask for help? No. There's an art form to that. I remember sitting with people that I thought in my 20s could be mentors, and I would just sit there and be like, mentor me. And then they'd be like, what do you want? And I'm like, mentoring. And mentorship. And it never quite worked out. But to script that a little bit, because the potential's there, the desire's there. But I think, and again, it's not what you're kind of describing. It's not that complicated. This isn't rocket science. This isn't cold fusion. This is like, ask this question, share this kind of supporting comments.
There you go.
Just need a couple of those, and it's like, oh, okay, now I know.
Yep. So if a teen can come to the Ambition app, get access to skills that are relevant, that are delivered in a great way, they're rewarded with resources that they badly need, but that also reinforce the value of their time and their effort. They're shared opportunities, not random opportunities for the whole world, but customized for them based on who they are. Yeah. I like that. I don't like that. Show me more like that. Show me less like that. There are basic things that we see all the time. And then if they're able to now have that not just be an individual pursuit, but one that is shared with the people who care about them. Yeah. Who then when they see them at church, they're like, hey man, I saw you completed that course. Like, that's awesome. I supported that. I sponsored that course, man. Great work. I love seeing your video afterwards. Like, that community of support. We think that app will not replace youth development. Yeah. Will not replace TikTok or Instagram, but can sit firmly in, hey, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day. Can you activate your ambition? Can you think forward a little bit? Can you get excited about where you're going and understand the importance of what you do today to get there? Yeah. Like, can we play that role? So some people ask, oh, are you doing like, are they like TikTok style? No, that's TikTok. Right. They're not TikTok style. When you come here, you come here, right? Like, there's school is school, church is church, right? Basketball is basketball, TikTok is TikTok, ambition is ambition. Yeah. And we hope that is in the hands of every kid, not just low income teens. Like, we think about them because we want to make it accessible to the ones who are often forgotten in the design process, and teens of color. But this will be available and ready for everyone to use, and we think that it will play a really important part in raising up the next generation of leaders and thriving citizens.
I'm a youth developer. I'm a dad. I've fought my teenage kids about screen time and which apps are allowed. I mean, it's just constant. Yeah. There's no question that I'll be downloading this for my kids. And as a parent, not just thinking about the resources you're going to offer through the app, but ways in which that I can incentivize my own kids. Hey, you want more TikTok time? Perfect. Do 30 minutes.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it, Remy. Thank you. You're helping me see how you're approaching this so thoughtfully as a youth developer and leveraging the tools of technology. So I'm getting it, and I want it. And I'm sure there's questions that we're going to get to in future episodes. How are you going to fund this? How are you going to get people to let kids know about that? Like, we're going to get into that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. No, let's wait. All right, you got it.
Yeah, teaser. Stay tuned for more episodes on the road to ambition. And in the meantime, get back to work, Remy. Build this app.
Sir.
Let's go.
You got it.
Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Road to Ambition. If you want to join our mission to empower Black and Brown teens, reach out to us at remy@ambitionangels.org. Remember to subscribe to our podcast for more thought-provoking discussions. Until next time, stay ambitious.